No one thought it would be easy, but a deal on new membership terms to help keep Britain in the EU is proving more difficult and time-consuming than many had hoped. After all, more pressing concerns like Europe's migration crisis have been competing for attention at what's meant to be a two-day summit.
As you may know, also Britain was the subject of our talks today. For now, I can only say that we have made some progress, but a lot still remains to be done.
On migration, the priority is a joint plan with Turkey to limit the flow of refugees to Europe. A meeting with Turkish leaders is planned for early next month. EU bosses in Brussels reaffirmed that there was no alternative to member states working together. Before the meeting, there were those who doubted that a European approach was needed to resolve the refugee problem. We unanimously said this evening that the procedure must be European and that solo national approaches are undesirable. Which leaves the thorny issue of Brexit, with David Cameron hoping to head home with a deal he can sell to the British people ahead of an in-out referendum. Our correspondent in Brussels says that according to leaked information, there's been a big debate behind the scenes with the United Kingdom about the duration of the period in which benefits for EU migrants could be limited. An EU diplomat says the leaders are preparing for long negotiations today.
Euronews, Brussels.
New Austrian limits on the number of refugees allowed to cross its borders have infuriated the EU, prompting warnings that Vienna could be breaking European law. Each day, Austria's restricting new asylum claims to 80, while letting a maximum of 3,200 other migrants transit its territory. To try to ease the pressure, police chiefs from countries along the Balkan migration route have agreed to jointly register refugees as they cross from Greece into the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Authorities will also organise their transport straight to Austria. The process won't, however, grant them status as asylum seekers. That step will take place in Austria, Germany, or whichever other country they might travel to. As funerals for the 28 soldiers who died in the suicide bomb attack in Ankara take place, Turkey is on the offensive. The Turkish government's blamed the YPG, the armed wing of Syria's Democratic Union Party, and it shelled some of the group's positions across the border in Syria. But a party representative has denied responsibility. Turkey's very upset with the gains of the Syrian Democratic Forces and the YPG. They want to see us go to the border and burn down one of their positions. They want us to launch an operation from our territory to theirs, so they'll have an excuse to intervene. Most of the bomb attacks Turkey's endured in recent months have been blamed on ISIL, but not this time. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who's visited some of those injured in the Ankara attack, also says other Kurdish militants were involved. Those who head the PYD and PKK say this has no connection with them. But based on the information obtained by our Interior Minister and our intelligence agencies, it's been identified that this was done by them. On Thursday, Turkish warplanes bombed the camps of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party in northern Iraq. It's been leading an on-off insurgency inside Turkey for decades. Now that fighting's increasingly spilling over the borders. Pope Francis looks to have suggested that the Roman Catholic Church could soften its ban on contraception for women facing the Zika crisis. Flying home after his trip to Mexico, he said one of his predecessors, Pope Paul VI, allowed nuns in Africa to use birth control because they risked being raped. Avoiding pregnancy is not an absolute evil, he told reporters. In certain cases, as in this one, such as the one I mentioned of Blessed Paul VI, it was clear. Francis stressed there'd be no change to the position on abortion, calling it a crime and an absolute evil. Many scientists believe mosquito-borne Zika, which has swept through Latin America, is a risk factor for microcephaly in newborns, a condition in which infants are born with abnormally small heads. Officials in Brazil, which has been hardest hit, have urged women to avoid getting pregnant until the epidemic's under control. Channel tunnel operator Eurotunnel says the migrant crisis at the UK-French border has improved thanks to more fences and police officers. But it's asking Britain and France for €29 million in compensation for lost revenue due to disrupted services caused by migrant activity. Spanish taxi drivers have protested in Madrid against moves to open the sector up to greater competition from private transport firms like Uber. Uber cannot currently operate in Spain while authorities decide its legal status, but taxi drivers fear regulators are about to slacken the rules. Opposition leader Kizza Besigye was briefly detained on polling day in Uganda as the government shut down social media sites. There are more signs of tension in a presidential election widely expected to be won by veteran leader Yoweri Museveni. Leading opposition candidates have predicted vote rigging.